What is up, everybody?
Hello, hello.
My name is Mike from Pixels Game Vault.
And I'm Mike, also known as Mike MorningstarESQ.
And we are here to take you on our digital quest, a show where we venture into the world of video games, both old and new.
And we also talk about comic books, comic collecting, comic key collecting, comic book movies, of which there are several, especially one very important one that just came out, and other such cinema.
And also our personal business ventures and personal development experiences. So hopefully you will enjoy a lot of the topics that we speak about.
Yeah, no, so like we both got ventures going on, and you know, it's not a job if honest to God you love what you do, and we want to share the things that we honest to God love to do, and kind of share the things that we've learned along the way. So hopefully you can get that in this podcast and this episode.
All right, so yeah, let's get into it, man.
So what have you been up to, man?
So I got some cool stuff to talk about. You know, biggest one.
You made some big accomplishments since last we talked.
It's taken a while. So Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. I finally, for the freaking sake of God, I completed it.
Hey, there you go.
Earlier, ahead of schedule. I thought it was gonna take until like December to finish it, but I actually kind of accelerated my progress. I actually took a week off from work last week, so that really helped a lot.
It's like, gosh darn it, I'm gonna finish this fucking shit.
Yeah. So that's
the question on everyone's mind right now. How many times did you use a mimic? How many mimics' lives have you killed, you bastard?
Oh man, if y'all had video on this, I'm making a face right now. So I am not ashamed.
Nor should you be.
So I use quite a bit. I think almost on every encounter I use my mimic, but of course not just the mimic, but also getting the help from multiplayer and people to help me out there. So
sorry,
because you can't really use mimics on multiplayer.
Yeah.
So once you summon people in to come help you, then you kind of lose that ability,
yeah, you lose that
which
option.
is fair. I mean, you don't want to be too overpowered.
Yeah.
So in total, I did have help overall, and but yeah, that game, Jesus Christ, there were some bosses so each boss I actually tried to fight by myself,
right, just
to figure out like how difficult is this boss that people are saying. So
yeah,
obviously the memorable ones are Mesmer, the Impaler, and then you got General Gaius. He's the guy on the fucking pig.
Which I've heard you complain a lot about, so I'm getting very well familiar with him.
Yeah, that asshole. He was haunting my dreams for quite a bit.
Yeah, he looks so unimposing. That's the thing.
No. I think we talked about this on the last episode, right? So like he starts off in this far end of the stage,
like a speck.
He's like a little speck, and then all of a sudden he just comes running, and then like, oh man, he's coming pretty fast, and then you just can't dodge his shit. You have to be like really precise with like your dodges,
right?
So we talked about this in the previous episode. I'm not gonna go too much into it, anyways,
right.
But. So moving on from that, whenever I fought Mesmer, Jesus. Okay, so I fought him the first time, like, okay, now I see why people were having so much, they're getting so frustrated with him, because he's just like, talk about like not get. Okay, so I thought Commander or General Gaius, I'm butchering it. So Commander Gaius,
he has a military rank and he's a somebody.
Yeah, he's a somebody.
Gaius.
But he hardly let you breathe. Like you would dodge, and then there were these very small windows that you would be able to take advantage of. Mm-hmm. Mesmer throws that all totally out the window. Like this dude is like on crack.
Right.
And like he's fucking fire everywhere, and then he has a halfway stage, so like a stage 2, right?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, so the beginning's pretty acceptable. I mean, you can kind of dodge his stuff, but then stage 2 comes around, he starts turning into like his snakes come out of these.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And like all those snakes play a big role, like where they're going all over the stage.
Oh geez.
And it's like no room to breathe. And so he was a memorable boss, and obviously the last boss. You have not dove into the DLC just yet, right?
If you want to spoil it, you can. Just I guess minor spoilers, or I guess major spoilers.
Major spoilers.
Major spoilers. Here's the thing, like. I'm gonna play the DLC, and I know you're gonna volunteer to play with me, so it's all good. It's all good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yes.
minor spoilers for like the next 30 seconds, people.
Yeah. It's like major spoilers.
Major spoilers.
So the last boss is Radon.
Yeah.
So he comes back.
Yeah. I've seen.
And my goodness, like I'm just like more astounded than anything at like how crazy this boss is.
Yeah.
So in the past, every time I would try to relate like hard bosses to like something that I've done in the past, it's always been like Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder, from Dark Souls 1,
right?
Because he would never let you breathe. Like he would just hit you and go at you with like,
and that was kind of like your standard for like other games going forward. Like this is it's not as bad as Gwyn, or it's actually pretty bad,
right?
Yeah.
So Radon is just like that, and he's
worse or equal.
Man, he's bad. He's probably worse. He's probably a lot worse. And Jesus Christ. So that's only his first phase. So the first phase, I should probably say this. Like the first phase is pretty. Once you get the hang of his movement patterns, like they're pretty easy.
Right.
Second level comes in, or that's second half, right? He changes, and Mikola actually merges with him, and then he gains like all these holy powers.
Oh shit!
He starts like fucking going ham on you.
Jesus.
And it's like he does this move where like he'll jump up in the air, and he will. It's like fascinating to watch because like the animation is so cool. Okay. He uses his holy light to kind of throw in. Send silhouettes down to you to kind of like get you to like guess if he's gonna come hit you or not. And so it's about like 5 of them. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he'll come down and like hit you.
Jesus.
And it's like it's amazing to watch, but fuck, dude, it's hard. And then he does this other move where you fought him already, right?
Yes, in the base game, yeah.
Yeah. So you remember in the halfway point, whenever he just shoots up into the stars, and then he just like it just gets all quiet.
Right.
Does the exact same thing again.
Oh shit.
But this time he just comes down and slams in with all this whole entire like holy freaking earthquake.
Right.
And it's super hard to like. You got to figure out the right timing on it.
You got to really know.
And so
anticipate.
That one was intense. So whenever I started fighting him, I was a bleed build. And I was a bleed build the whole entire game, even from the base. I brought him in, and so I was already tuned to it.
Don't tell me he made you change your build.
Yes, he did.
Oh shit! That's how big of a big bad he is. He made you switch.
Yeah. So I'm kind of glad that I did because it kind of kicking myself in the ass because this would probably save me a lot of headaches before then.
And this is good for me. This is good for me going into the DLC.
Yeah. So I turned into a strength, a beef build.
Nice.
And so I had my friend here, right? Like, so we were kind of, he's very good at analyzing all that kind of stuff. He was like, you know what? I'm reading some stuff where these people are actually having a better time being this kind of build. And because like whenever I was a bleed build, I was literally taking off like 1 health from him. Like, and I'm talking about like like 1,000,000 health, like 1 notch every time I would hit him. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to last.
This is not good.
My build is just getting trashed. And so I switched over to the beefy build, and like, what do you know? Like I'm starting to stagger him, and I'm trying to do all.
Yeah.
And I wasn't hindered by movement at all either, too. So I'm like, man, if I would have fucking done this shit like a lot earlier, I would have. Oh my god, I probably would have beaten it sooner.
But I mean, just final question. I know we've gone way beyond the 30 seconds, but did you have fun? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, man.
Would you replay it with me once I get the DLC?
Oh hell yeah.
Okay, cool.
No doubt.
But how do you feel? And I guess without going too big into spoilers, is there any possibility that you see story-wise for like a sequel, or does it like leave any like cliffhangers where it's like to be continued ?
So in traditional From Software manner, yes, it does.
Good.
Well, it allows you to put it together yourself.
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation. But if you think about it, like in the whole entire, like the reasoning why you're doing what you're doing in the whole Shadow of the Erd Tree, and they've explained this before, is because they're following Mikola's path. to becoming the god, right?
Right.
And so it's going through all those steps, and once you beat it, then you kind of start putting together. I don't recall if this was a prequel or if it was a foreshadowing or if it's a continuation, like a sequel.
Right.
But overall, I think what I gathered from the end, I'm like, oh man, there has to be more DLC on this because there's a lot of shit that they're leaving out. And unless I didn't really pay attention to all the minor details, which most likely there are some out there.
Right.
Like the crosses that are left behind from Mikola, and if you read all that stuff and talk to all the people, they will help put together that story to where now it all like figures,
it's starting
points
to mesh.
you, it points you in the right direction.
That's kind of cool. I think I saw somewhere, I don't know if it was IGN or Game Informer or somewhere, but I think George R.R. Martin said something about the possibility of like a TV show. I'm not sure if it's so much of an adaptation or maybe just an expansion to the world, but it seems like this world is ripe for that.
Well, so if George R.R. Martin is behind it and Miyazaki, like both tag teaming it still on the show and not letting some other person take on the reins of it, because that's usually where video game adaptations go wrong, is like
as they so often do.
Yeah, and then I would be all for it, and because dude, like George R.R. Martin already had a good reputation with, well, not only his books, but like having Game of Thrones become a good adaptation of his books. And to a point, certain seasons are kind of questionable.
Right.
But
I've heard.
yeah. But if they were to turn it into a TV show, and if they do it right, this would be like a really good show.
Yeah, no, when I heard that, and still having not played Shadow of the Erdtree, I'm like, this is exciting.
It would probably have the same magnitude, if not even more, than what Fallout just had on the TV show. So like, because there was a lot of people that didn't like. So my dad first day, right? So this is you have people that don't really know what Fallout is about. They don't know it's a video game, and so they're seeing the show and like, man, this new show Fallout's pretty good,
right?
And my dad was one of those. He was like, hey, have you seen that new show called Fallout? I was like, yeah, it's a video game adaptation. I played the video games. He was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so I think that Elden Ring, if it does come out, it'll have a greater magnitude because the lore is so deep.
Right. Yeah. You have a great game, but with the great lore, you can have a great TV show and not necessarily be a fan of the game, so to speak.
Yeah. So to answer your question, so if I did enjoy it, yes, like this is possibly one of the greatest games I've ever played.
Damn.
In my whole entire life. Like,
damn. And you've been gaming your whole life, so that's high praise.
Yeah. It's crazy because like as much frustration as it builds with me, like I don't get it doesn't make me hate the game. I actually enjoy it. Like it provides a lot of rewards, and that's why I'm very it's very astonishing to understand like how Miyazaki's mind works and like how he knows the correct formula to keep the player engaged. Because you hardly find any bad reviews of this game because unless people are just so frustrated because the game's too hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, fucking get good then.
And you'll find it's really reviewers. It's like the reviewers who have to like speed through the game or it's not their forte. They're the ones who are like, oh, this is too hard. Well, dude, that's kind of the fucking point.
I know, that is exactly the fucking reason.
Have you never heard of a Soulsborne, my guy?
The fucking tagline on Dark Souls 2 was like prepare to die, or part 1, I forgot.
Literally.
Prepare to die.
Literally. That title screen where like you are dead, it's like that's kind of your friend, or you're vanquished or whatever. It's like that's going to become your friend.
Yeah, and some of the things that I really appreciate too is like when you feel like you've done so much work on getting to a particular point and you've really you say like you've killed a hard boss that you've been trying to tackle, and they don't give you shit.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, well then what's next? And it's like, okay, so they eliminate that immediate entitlement. Like, okay, well I feel like I worked hard for this. Well, okay, so tough shit and go do the next thing.
Yeah, keep
and
going.
It's like, oh fuck, okay, yeah.
No, it's definitely.
So I really enjoy that kind of stuff. And
so that's good. That's a big accomplishment. Congrats, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But to close on that, it's just I at first I thought this is what I was thinking of. I was trying to figure out. So in comparison to Dark Souls, because like I talk about Dark Souls 1 a lot because that one resonated a lot with me too, because of the bosses like Ornstein and Schmo and of course Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. That was very memorable. But the story itself was, at the time I thought that was super great. But now Elden Ring just takes that cake. It's it's almost like that was a chapter,
Right.
And then now this is like the whole book. And it's like, dude, there's so much shit.
That's
in this
a nice
game.
comparison. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
And so Elden Ring is just like a really amazing game.
That's
so
good.
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Congrats, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so you talk to me about comics. And this is
There's been a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. So we'll save the meat of the comic topic for a little bit later on, but
Yes.
just as a high level. So comics with that are $1 that are kind of getting more expensive now.
So there's, as I kind of mentioned before, there are certain movies, a certain movie that's out right now on theaters near you, which is making waves, which I'm sure we'll talk about later also. But so in light of that movie, but also in light of recent announcements, which we'll also get into regarding the MCU, the future of the MCU, comics that I've been looking at, that I've been wanting to add to my collection, and perhaps even resell on Whatnot and eBay. I was placing bids, I was looking at them, had them favorited, and a lot of them were like $1, $2, $3, maybe $5. All of a sudden, overnight, because of the announcement of the announcements of the future of the MCU, all of a sudden these dollar comics are now selling for $100. That's the new standard. And I guess I can just kind of put a pin on this, and we can talk more specifics later. But specifically, what's been going on, like all these comics that I was interested in, and I was just kind of like, going back and forth with the seller. It's like all of a sudden, it's like they're like, "Fuck you! I can get $100 out of this thing." We were bargaining over, pennies for. Now it's like, bro, prepare to pay. So it just really highlights the speculative nature and like volatile nature of the comics market, which I love. It is what it is. I think a lot of people are jumping the gun here when it comes to some of these comics, but it's been a crazy week, I will say. Yeah, and it looks like we'll talk about those announcements later, so I guess I'll just kind of put a pin on that right now. But it's been a very, it's been kind of a shitty week comic collecting-wise. It's like, you know what? I should have just pulled the trigger. I should have just gotten this comic and all these other comics of, like, this certain character and certain event style, and I should have just pulled the trigger on it. But that is, like, that's the whole essence of collecting. Buy it cheap right now, even if you don't think it's important, because next thing you know, some director or like Kevin Feige or maybe even James Gunn with his new DCU is going to come along and say, hey, guess what? We're going to use that comic as inspiration for the next step forward, or like for this new movie, or the next step forward in our shared cinematic universe. And all of a sudden, that $3 comic that you thought was worthless is now literally worth hundreds of dollars. So that's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of those things, and I know that kind of is going to be the meat of what our comic discussion is going to be. But
which is why I don't want to go too far into it.
Yeah. But I mean, what else have you been up to?
So, in other news, more positive news, and this is thanks to you, man. I finally completed, was it the Drakengard, my Draken Nier collection. I have you to thank for that, man. I got Drakengard 1, 2, and 3. I got Nier Gestalt and Nier Automata, obviously. But thanks to you, I finally got, you gave me, sold to me Drakengard 2 and 3, which is, it was very weird. Like, it looked like those weren't going for much, like several years ago. And then all of a sudden, because of the recent, exponential success of Automata, the anime show, and it looks like they're making a new game, and they're kind of tying in the concept of like a multiverse, and like this character from Drakengard 3 who kind of has like a omniscience, like who knows everything that's going on. All of a sudden, all these, like, in retrospect, Drakengard 1, 2, and 3 are becoming like invaluable. So I was having a hard time finding those titles at a reasonable price, and you were able to, sell me 2 and 3 at a very reasonable price. So thanks to you, man, I finally completed my collection. So now I'm going to start like stage 2 of the collection, if you will, and start looking at the special editions.
Oh man, so, I've seen a couple of those. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, like, I think there's like 2 special editions for Drakengard 3. The North American special editions are going for like $700. That one's probably going to be at the very end of the journey, but. Drakengard 3 goes by the title Dragoon in Japan, and that special edition looks beautiful, and that one's kind of going for like $200. So I think I'm going to shoot for that one. And then I'm also aiming for the Japanese version of Nier Replicant, where you play as the boy, not the father, but the brother. So I'm also working on that.
That's cool.
So in good news, in other news.
Yes. So what drives you towards Nier and Drakengard being like your favorite kind of video game arc, or one of your favorite video games?
It's definitely one of the favorites. Yeah, I came across it first initially through Nier Automata, as most people I'm sure have, and it was one of those things where I look at the cover, I'm like, okay, I see the appeal, I see why people are getting into this, and the comics, I'm sorry, the reviews and the comments that I see like on Steam and the PlayStation and Reddit, they're all like, no, like this game changed my life forever, and I'm like, really, this game? This, anime weeb, game with the Lolita girl at the front, and then they have like bandages like what do you call it? Like blindfolds for goggles. Like, really, that game changed your life? So I went in there as a heavy skeptic, and not knowing who Yoko Taro is, and the music is fucking beautiful. It's blowing me away. It really gets existential very quickly. It's a hack and slash, but it gets very existential. And the story and the concept of multiple endings and seeing the same story from multiple points of view blew me away. And then finally, the ending, which I will not dare spoil for anyone who's listening right now, is fucking amazing. It made me bawl into tears. It's literally probably the best ending I've seen in a video game that I've ever experienced.
And which game are we talking about here?
Nier Automata.
Automata, okay.
So with that's like, holy shit, who made this? Okay, Square Enix, you got Platinum Games, Yoko Taro. Yoko Taro, he made a masterpiece. What else has this guy done? And so I think he's done like a mobile game, Sino Alice, but then you got Drakengard 1, 2, and 3, which apparently are tied to the Nier titles, and then you got Replicant. So it's like all of a sudden, I need this shit. I am working through Replicant right now, but when I'm done with that, I definitely want to take a stab at Drakengard 1, 2, and 3, especially if there's this character who is kind of in the background of the entire series, who we may learn more about in the new release that Yoko Taro has teased about in the future.
Yeah. Nier Automata was my first game that I played out of the series.
Right.
And I remember specifically because I forgot what drove me to want to play it. I think it was so I like games that do unique things.
Yes.
So I games that stick to the traditional formula, like Call of Duty or same linear fashion.
Yeah.
They're good for a while, but I really appreciate the ones that throw in like these little unknowns and that kind of mix up the formula.
Yeah.
So the one thing I really appreciated about Nier Automata was the fact that on the outside, it looks like a normal hack and slash game.
Right.
But then when you get into certain levels, it turns into like a 2D side scroller platformer. And I'm like, oh, and then even
the arcade sections.
Yeah. And then it turns into a bullet hell, and then it turns into like a top down. Like they throw in all these different formulas. I'm like, holy fuck, like this game is so cool.
It's kind of like Yoko Taro's flexing. Like, you see, that's how you do that. Yeah. I'm going to make a hack and slash. I'm going to make an arcade shooter like what do you call it? Like the asteroids?
Yeah,
like
dude.
I'm gonna make like an asteroids thing. I'm gonna make a fucking side scroller, like a Castlevania side scroller. Metrovania side scroller. Like he's flexing. Like, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And on top of great gameplay, you can make a fucking masterpiece of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it holds like that Final Fantasy kind of feel to where you get to talk to people. You get to literally talk to anybody in the game.
Yes.
And then there's dialogue for everybody. It's not just like there's NPCs that are useless.
Yeah.
Everybody plays a role in the story of what you're trying to do.
Right.
It's like so crazy when you start thinking about it. Like, man, like he put so much effort in like getting all these pieces of the puzzle tying together.
It's really crazy when you think about it. It's an open world game, but the open world is not really all that big. In fact, a lot of the games and the multiple endings, it all takes place in a pretty condensed area. But holy shit, dude, it's so much packed into one. Like, the world is beautiful. There's a lot of world building, and like you said, if you get with the NPCs and you bother to like read some of the files, which I eventually found myself wanting to do, it's like, holy shit, there's so much going on. And then when you realize that this is actually a sequel to Replicant and like a pseudo sequel to all these Drakengard games, it begs the question: how the hell did the world get to this point?
Yeah.
And then that kind of goes back to your initial question, like, how did I get interested in the series? It's like, this is a beautiful world. How did we get here?
Yeah. And I still remember whenever I don't know, were you the first one that told me? I think you were probably the one that introduced me to like oh yeah, it's tied with Drakengard, and I was like, nah.
That's true. Yeah. You were like, excuse me?
Yeah, because I knew about Drakengard even like before Nier, and
Yeah.
I never played the game, but I always knew about it, and I remember visually the cover, like with the dragon and the guy with the sword and everything.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that like Drakengard, I'm like, what? How does that tie
I think
in?
you knew that Yoko Taro made it and that Yoko Taro made Nier. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I didn't know anything about Yoko Taro. Like so I just beat Replicant, and I don't know if the character. So you know how Yoko Taro is. So for people that don't know, Yoko Taro is a creator of this game, right?
Yes, yeah.
And when he is a type of person where you will not find. He has a persona on and social media and out in the world, like he will not show his face to the world.
He's kind of like a Banksy thing. Like, okay, you see him, but also he always has a mask on, so no one really knows what his face looks like.
He's always hidden behind a mask, yes. And so this particular mask came out on Replicant, or I should say, what was the original game called? Nier, right?
Nier
For PS3.
Nier for PS3 and Xbox, yeah.
Yeah.
Also known as Nier Gestalt for our listeners across the pond.
Yes. Yeah. So you know more about
or
this,
Replicant, yeah.
So this particular mask, he came out in that game, but that's become like a symbol of his persona.
Yeah.
I don't know if it came out in Automata, right?
I think yes, it did. The character Emil, and in fact, Emil is in Replicant. So that the mask that Emil has is the same exact one that Yoko Taro has.
Yeah.
You know this,
yeah. but
he's a Banksy character. Yeah, he's
So
fancy.
So I haven't really gotten to the lore of the game. I've known bits and pieces like of particular characters that have carried over through certain games.
Yes.
So I've been putting that together with Automata. Did I beat? Yeah, I beat Automata, but I only got like the A and B ending.
Keep going.
Dude, I need to work on that one. But yeah, so. That's cool, man. Like that's cool that's what turns you on for the Drake and Nier series.
Yeah. I will. This is a call to you, and if you want to do like so I think later we're going to talk about our own venture. Right now, we both played a certain game, and it looks like we both have certain experiences with that game. Perhaps in the future we could do like a Nier thing.
Yeah.
I definitely want you to reach ending E because that was a profound thing. That was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in gaming. Honest to God.
Yeah, there are a couple of games that I can say that have done that to me, where like they throw on all these cool like formulas and mechanics, and they kind of make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll save that for another time. But
definitely.
So enough of all that banter. Let's get into the first topic, which is the video game section. And
yes, sir.
So what have we been up to? As we stated in the last episode, I believe we were gonna start playing Silent Hill Shattered Memories as a playthrough. We're gonna both gonna start at the same time, and then let us kind of talk about our experiences through the whole journey of the game.
Right.
So
That's right.
I guess to start, like, how far have you gotten?
I've gotten to the halfway point. It's my understanding that the game is 7 chapters long. I've gotten through chapter 3. Like I've gotten through the Midwich school part. And a certain event happens involving a car and water. I don't know how far in depth we want to go. Yeah. And now I'm at the Alchemilla Hospital. So okay. I'm pretty much right at the halfway point.
Yeah. So I've already beaten the game. I kind of sped through the game.
It was that good.
Yeah, like it really is good. Like it's a good game. But I like we talked offline here. I kind of told you that I feel like I sped ran it, so maybe I didn't catch a lot of the little subtleties in the game.
Yeah.
But overall, the story, like,
what do you think?
I think so. Let's just explain to the people that are listening, just in case if people have never heard of Silent Hill, which would be a shocker, but it's all right. So we got people out there that's to get you into the world of Silent Hill.
He's kidding. You're welcome here.
Yes. Come sit. Let's listen to a story. Come, child. So Silent Hill Shattered Memories, in the whole arc of the series, is basically a retelling of Silent Hill 1, which originally got released on the PlayStation 1.
Correct.
And so it follows the main character, whose name is Harry Mason. And so the way the story starts is like they're driving on a road, and so while they're driving, there's a little girl that crosses the road, and it causes them to go into a crash. And so Harry wakes up. So Harry had his daughter in the car when they had the crash, but now his daughter is gone. And so Harry, throughout the whole game, is trying to locate where his daughter went.
Yeah.
And so that's basically the premise that paves the path forward. So the way a Shattered Memories kind of changes things up a bit is it's the same kind of concept where you're trying to find out where his daughter Cheryl is, but instead of it being the typical fashion of Silent Hill where it's like ash raining down from the sky and this creepy town
and all the fog and what have you, and all the rust.
Rust and the iconic rust everywhere and stuff. Everything's
the sirens, the World War II sirens. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's not there.
So replace all the rust and the dark shit with frost and ice.
Frost.
Yeah. And
literally hell freezes over when Silent Hill is approaching you.
Mm-hmm. So everything freezes over, like he said, and you have to encounter these monsters along the way. But that's basically like the action scenes.
Yeah,
where you're trying to run away. So this game, you can't. The difference is you can't even attack in this game.
You can only run. You can hide, but you can't kill.
Yeah,
you can't
run
attack.
and hide, and so. The other thing that makes this game unique from the first one is that it psychologically messes with you. Well, sorry, I wouldn't say it messes with you, but it molds to your play style.
Yeah, definitely. The tagline for the first game, which, God, if I could tattoo something, it would be like fear of blood tends to create fear of the flesh. That is like, that fucks with you going in. You haven't even started playing as Harry Mason, and it's like, wow, what does that even mean? Fear of blood tends to create fear of the flesh. And then when you load in the disc for Shattered Memories, it gives you like a red warning screen, and it's like a big disclaimer, like this is a very cerebral game. It's a psychological horror game. And then at the very end, it's like, beware, this game plays you just as much as you play it.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean, Mike?
I know.
If this is like, if you decide to start playing Shattered Memories after listening to this, it makes you go like, what does that even mean? How does the game play me? I'm the one playing you.
It's almost like The Ring, like you're putting in 7 days. You're like, I don't know if I want to play this anymore.
Yeah. It's a same base concept. Harry gets in a crash, girl goes missing. Same thing, but otherwise the world and the way that the world looks is different. And it's yeah. So it's astounding.
Really, really good game. So I'll leave it up to a mental coin toss. What do you want to do? You want to talk through it, or you want to wait till you're done and we'll kind of continue from there? Like to explain.
I kind of want to just give some base impressions right now.
Okay.
So I like the fact that the game playing you just as much as you play it, there is a sort of a literal component to it. There are sections between, at the very beginning of the game, but also in between chapters, where you meet with a psychologist by the name of Michael Kaufman. If you've played Silent Hill 1 before, then that name should be familiar to you. That this is the guy who, he's kind of like a Deutero antagonist, not really your friend, not really your enemy. He does help you at the end of the game beat the final boss if you complete a side objective. But in the end, he's not really a good man. But in this new game, he plays as your psychologist. And throughout the game, he asks you, the player, like not a character, but you, the player, certain questions about you yourself. So the game legitimately wants to know a lot about you. Like, do you make friends easy? Do you like drinking alcohol? Mm-hmm. Even stuff about, sex life. It's stuff that they really want you to... It kind of invades on the personal space, but there's a point to it. If you stick with it, there is a point to it. So I like how the game kind of breaks the fourth wall. Well, it does break the fourth wall, and it wants to get to know you, the player, which is creepy, but it's also like, that's kind of cool. Yeah. This is a new kind of horror. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think about those sections?
I thought they were pretty interesting. So I kind of like didn't take it too seriously when I was doing those. So when you're in the hot seat and they're asking, the psychologist is asking you, or psychiatrist is asking you all these questions, like, hey, it's almost like a real session. Like they tell you, hey, put these things in these squares at wherever you think that they get interpreted correctly, and so just to see where you're sitting at, and so he can
psychoanalyze
and like mold the story to all your answers.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it. So I guess what was the first one? The first one was basically
it was a straight up questionnaire, a Q&A, 10 questions, I think.
So
do you make friends? Do you need alcohol to make you relax? Do you prefer abstract ideas?
Yeah, so I think the beginning, there was a bunch of questions. There was one like, do you enjoy sex? And I'm like, yes, I do enjoy sex. And so,
and then at the end, there's the final question. It's like, have you ever cheated on a partner? And then I said no. And then in the end, he's like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, is that the only question that really mattered, Kaufman? What the fuck? You freak.
Yeah. So it's funny because for some reason he got fixated on the whole sex part in my story.
I've noticed that as a common complaint.
Yeah.
He really focuses on the sex component, which is like, what the fuck?
And some of the things that happened in my game, my wife actually walked in on me playing the game and she was like laughing because like, what the fuck are you playing? Like, why are they having sex right now? I'm like, well,
this is important because of the plot.
That's fine. It's how I respond. It's how I responded on the questionnaire. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay. But I'm going to ask you that question right next, but, oh my God, what was I going to say? I guess there were certain portions where it's like, it's very open to interpretation. Like literally there's like a picture of a coloring book of like a house and the quote unquote perfect family.
I fucking butchered that.
I was going to ask you that. Like, so that one you just went like, who gives a fuck, pink walls, red sky.
I just went like my son. I grabbed a bunch of crayons and just fucking scribbled the shit. and then my house looked fucked up.
Okay. I'm kind of getting a kind of embarrassment. Like, so this is, if you want to see my playthrough, you can see it on the Morningstar ESQ, my YouTube channel. On there you'll see actually like I spend like maybe 30 minutes on that fucking photo. I'm not gonna lie, I spend like 30 minutes on drawing that fucking
You're
thing.
probably gonna get a good ending.
I don't know. Coffin's probably like, hurry the fuck up.
I know,
We're not
he's
supposed to take it so seriously. But it's like the perfect family. Like, what does that mean? I get very philosophical and shit, perfect door, perfect mailbox, perfect car.
You're like, the doorknob needs to be bronze. The windows need to be crystal.
Yeah.
And you're all like very particular on it.
It's like those in high school, it's like, children, why did the author make the curtains blue? Is it to represent the duality of man or maybe his love of the ocean? No, bitch, it's because he liked the color blue.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man, because he's fucking just likes the color.
Yeah. No, so I yeah, guilty. I kind of went very cerebral on that shit.
Yeah. So I guess with so past the beginning part, with these answers that you give, right? Like it literally changes it molds like the way that people look, the way that monsters look.
Yes.
The way that the one thing I did not realize is that throughout the town, it actually shapes how the town looks.
Yes.
Like there's hidden what do you call it? Like there's imagery that resembles what you've kind of put in your questions.
Yes. And it also feeds into it.
Yeah. So I didn't really catch that. And see, this is the thing, like where maybe I was just trying so hard just to get through the story that I didn't really pay attention to the side stuff. I got some of the mementos. So these little mementos are kind of like the secret items in the game.
Yes.
So I did kind of know where to go to grab those.
Right.
So I did get quite a bit by the end.
Right.
But yeah, as far as those imageries, like when I started after the fact, when I beat the game and I went to go to YouTube and started watching people playing, and I'm like, my monsters didn't look like that. Yeah. And like this, I didn't get her looking like this, or this didn't go this way in my story. I'm like, this is pretty cool. See, like now that brings out more of like the fascination of this game.
So yeah, the based on your. So I've heard that the actions you take in the game are more dispositive. Like it's more influential, but the answers to your questions do have an influence also on the world around you.
Yeah.
So like after the first questionnaire, if you say like, yes, I do like sex. Okay. Like it tends towards like a world where there's more sexual imagery and certain characters are more sexualized and then they would be in other playthroughs. But it's also like, if you continue to look at that stuff, then like the game is like, yeah, we got you dialed in. Yeah,
we got you, bitch.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you this, if you're comfortable, we could save it for another episode. What like playthrough or what world did you get? Like what timeline?
Timeline in regards to like
I guess in terms of like choices or like the mindset of the player or the.
Oh, so or if we're going by the titles of the endings.
Oh, I don't know if I want to spoil that.
Yeah, okay. Well, because I'm trying to figure out without having to spill the beans a little bit too much. But so you're just talking about like the way that things are kind of exposed in the clips of the videos that you're going through, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Fair
like,
enough.
yeah, like I said, everything was kind of revolving around like this sexual nature.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I know I only answered like one question, bro, and you're like over
And
here.
now
you're thinking I'm a fucking like.
they think you're a deviant. Like,
I know.
yeah, you like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you like all that, you naughty boy. Like no. But yeah, so a lot of my story was built around that. Certain characters were trying to hit on me more often, and they were being more touchy feely with me, and I'm like, this is
Why?
very, like in a realistic sense, I'm like, how are you stupid, Harry, to fucking fall for this shit?
Yeah.
You know, like you're in a town where nobody's here, and then you start meeting these people that just randomly show up, and then you're just thinking like, oh, it's okay. Like I know you're looking for Cheryl.
You literally get ghost phone calls of your missing daughter. Like, Daddy,
those were.
run away. And then you got like this busty girl coming like, hey, like, okay, maybe you should not consider.
Move, ho, get out of my way.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't consider sleeping with her. She may not even exist.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of how my world was tailored. I mean, how was yours?
So I will tell you, I had some problems setting up OBS on my recording, and so I did kind of an initial stream, and like I was talking into the mic, but it couldn't pick up my fucking words. My questions on the Q&A were exactly the same, but apparently I was looking. So there's like posters of like there's like women who are like, you know, like half nude or they got like swimsuits. And I swear to God, I wasn't looking at them long. And then there's also like, there's like a bathroom where there's like graffiti by like naughty, like high school boys about things they did to one of the cheerleaders. And I read it, and the guy, Harry Mason, your character, whenever you see something in the world that could affect your world, he'll make a comment.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until after the fact, that's the way of the game telling you like, hey, we're taking this into account. He would make comments about that. And there's also like a lingerie store, like a women's clothing store. And I went looking around for this key to open the backyard so I can continue through the story. Apparently, all of that summed up together put me into the path of like the hypersexualization timeline, if you will. So if you played Silent Hill 1, you got the officer Sybil, who is definitely your friend. She's skeptical of you. She's an officer. Yeah. She thinks you're a loon. But she sympathizes with you when you say that you're missing your daughter. So she will work with you in Silent Hill 1. And that is also the case, I believe. You finished the game. I'm only halfway. But it looks like she's helpful to you in Shattered Memories. But the way she's dressed, the way she approaches you, and the way that she, like her intonations in her voice, they do take on a sexual overtone if you enter this timeline of hypersexualization. So when I played through initially, like the first 10 minutes or so, she was like, you know, her cleavage was showing. She was like busty, and then like, oh, like, you know, what are you doing here? You know, I'm like, you are not the Sybil I know from Silent Hill 1. What is this? And then I did notice like there's a diner area. There's like a poster on the wall, or like a billboard, and it's got like a woman who's like, you know, kind of like in a swimsuit. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird to put in like in a family, you know, diner. And so once I realized that OBS was fucked up, I restarted. Honest to God, same questions, same answers. I kind of went out of my way to make sure I didn't look at certain posters, but otherwise, like it was kind of creepy what these boys were saying about what they did to this cheerleader. I was looking around at all these other things. I still went through the women's store, but in the end, when I came across Sybil, she was very, you know, professionally clothed. You know, she had like her officers or, you know, Rangers uniform, and the sexual intonations were gone, and she was just like, Harry, she thinks you're a loon, but she wants to help you. Yeah. So very platonic. And as of right now in chapter 3, she remains like very platonic. So I'm not getting all that sexual undertone. So it looks like I'm in the timeline now and I'm also very thorough here looking for mementos. So it looks like the game is kind of saying like, okay, so you're kind of like on a neutral path. Yeah, which is not bad at all. Like this is what I think is more representative of me, hopefully.
Yeah. You ever play that game Fable?
No, I've not played Fable.
Oh man, that is such a great game. So
Add that to the list. Zelda, BioShock.
Well,
let's add Fable.
you can go by without playing that one, but the only reason why I point that out is because the one mechanic that was super unique with it is that choices that you make either turn you into an evil person or a good person.
Oh, that's cool.
So you would either get horns if you did a lot of bad shit like killing people, and then you would get dark powers, and then if you were to do good stuff, you would get a halo on your head and be more of an angel and have light powers and stuff like that. So it seems like this game kind of it takes a little bit of a formula from that to where like your decision, it's kind of like you have a balancing bar. So like if you start making more decisions towards a different direction, it'll kind of teeter it towards one way versus the other, and then it balances if you start making those choices.
Yeah.
But on a different note, with one thing that I appreciated from the game was the mechanics of like, because this game came out on the Wii too, aside from the PS2 and aside from the PSP.
Yeah.
But this game was literally built for the Wii.
Correct. Yeah. It was built for the Wii, and then I think it was ported to PS2.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that is because when you're in the game, like this is the type of cool things that I like too. Is like when you're looking like at a chest or something, or like a cabinet, right?
Yes.
You literally have to go and grab the cabinet handle and open it and make the movement pattern to open the door, or even like it could be like a little jewelry box that you fold it up. You have to do it all manually yourself.
You have to literally grab the handle
and wind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool. What I like from the game, and then to touch on what you were saying, when you look at certain like imagery, he'll make comments.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that I found a lot of, so I don't know if you do this, but I found a bunch of phone numbers.
Yes.
And so
I call them all.
Yeah. So in the game, so I know we didn't really touch on this, but like on the game, your main thing is a phone.
Yes.
Aside from the flashlight, but on your phone, you can actually call people, you can save your game, you can look at your map, all that stuff and whatnot. Yeah. So when you look at around the environment and you find phone numbers, you can literally call all those numbers and they'll have like a dialogue that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of those numbers that I called were very like, those are the disturbing ones that I found that were really interesting.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, especially, I don't know if there's mementos, but there's also like objects apparently with like heavy emotional weight to it or something like that. It's like
emotional damage.
Emotional. Canceled. Yeah. I don't think they're mementos, but I think early in the game, this says like in your world, there could be objects that still have a lot of residual emotional energy to it. And then when you take a photo of it or some shit, you get like voice messages from beyond.
Oh, I never did that.
You get voice messages and text messages from like people you can't see. And
I only took pictures of the silhouettes that you would see around the world, and then those were like caused like the whole bong.
Yeah,
and then you would start you would get a voicemail about what that particular scenario was about.
Yeah. No, like there's a dark one. There's like a part in chapter 2 where you're like in a frozen forest, and you got to make your way back towards Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. And then and it seems like every chapter there seems to be like a certain like person. It follows like a certain like person or certain persons and their own traumas. And in that one in the frozen forest, there's this one about like this guy who thinks his son may be like a what do you call it? Curious, like sexually curious. You know, he calls them a queer, right? But he's a hunter and he wants his son to kill like this deer.
Oh yeah,
and be like, yeah, be a man, take a life, you know. And so really you get all these like haunting things from the boy and from the father of like they're, you know, I don't want to do this. Like, oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. And then you see like this deer skull just randomly on a tree. And then if you get close to it, it kind of like, it makes the flashlight like flash, like kind of shimmer. And then you get close to it. And if you scan it, take a photo of it, it pulls up a voicemail like, yeah, my boy, he grew up today. Like, he's a man. He took a life. It's like, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
You know, it's just wild stuff. The world building of this game.
So I think overall, like the mechanics of the game were really nice. The story, once you get done with it, we'll kind of shed a little bit more light and
we'll go more in depth
and talk about the ending of it. But I think to meet up with where you're at, like I think we both agree that the game's mechanics are pretty solid. And to give my opinion on
where would you put it so far on a tier list?
Well, my favorite is obviously Silent One, and that's just because I resonate a lot more with it. Not to say that I don't resonate a lot with part 2 and 3,
Right.
which are my next favorites. So 2 is very close to 1, as well as 3.
Right.
But just something about 1, man. Like I told you before, whenever I played it when I was young, I just remember the school level, and it's so haunting. I was like, well, I don't know even know how old I was. I was probably like 8 or something.
Oh my God.
I should have not been playing this game. That's probably why I'm a little messed up nowadays. But yeah, so I think, so Silent Hill will be 1, then 2, and then 3, and then 4.
I guess having played and completed Shattered Memories, do you have like a more respect for it, or like do you?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like all the hate towards it is like maybe some of that's unfound, or what do you?
Well, I mean, I've never heard a lot of the critics behind it. I mean, I've just kind of heard about the game. I've heard more good things than bad things, honestly. And to be honest, if people hated it, then I mean, one of my favorite games of the series is Homecoming, and people fucking hated that game.
There you go.
More people hated that one.
Fair enough.
Or I shouldn't say hated. That's a very strong word. Dislike.
There's some people who hate it. There's some people out there who hate it.
Yeah. But I mean, that game I freaking really enjoyed. I love the story on that one. But I mean, the gameplay may have been kind of choppy at times, but
yeah.
I mean, they had some pretty memorable creepy bosses there.
Fuck yeah. If nothing else, the music is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah,
Akira Yamaoka, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I will never turn down to a Silent Hill game. I don't care if they ever go down in a rut. I mean, I'm always going to be a Silent Hill fan.
Fuck yeah. Amen, brother.
Yeah. So
bullshit.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we've been up to on the video game side. The next game that I'm going to continue to play, at least from my end, until you finish yours, I've been starting Haunting Ground, and that one's been pretty good so far. We won't go too much in depth with that, but just because I think that's one of the games you wanted to play as well.
I definitely
right?
want to play that at some point.
Yeah, but I will have to say that one brings a lot of unique elements to it as well. It is a Capcom game, and I did have the opportunity to grab the physical copy recently, so I have a list now. and so for those that don't know, there are horror games are obviously the more sought out games in the video game industry right now.
That tends to be the case, yeah.
And more of collecting, I would say.
Fuck yeah.
And just because there's not many horror games out there compared to like action and adventure and all that stuff, and sports and
it's its own kind of niche thing.
Yeah. So with me getting into Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the emulation, I'm going to work on getting the physical copy. But the next one, Haunting Ground, the one I've been playing, I actually found the physical copy to it. And the other sought after games that are very, very hard to find are Rule of Rose and also Kuon. And some may say the Fatal Frames as well, but I don't think those hold up as hard of a find for like Kuon and Rule of Rose.
Yeah.
So I feel like this Haunting Ground is going to be a gateway into me trying to freaking hunt those down, because now I'm like, I got the thirst for it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's good.
Damn it.
Yeah, no, I know if you've been listening to our podcast, the previous episode, we went to Austin to a retro gaming convention. And when we were there, we saw, or at least I saw, several Rules of Roses. I didn't see a single one.
You didn't tell me.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. I saw several, but you'll be happy to know, I guess kind of sort of happy in a sense, none of them were being sold for less than $700. I don't know if you're ever ready to fork that over yet.
No, not now, but maybe.
Yeah, but it was just so crazy. I'm like, hey, they're like, hey guys, you have Rule of Rose, and the guys were like, if you could afford it, sure. And they would pull up their glass case and pull it out. CIB, beautiful, pristine. Like you could tell that they and whoever probably owned it previously understood the value of what they had. And that game was only going to become more and more valuable as the years and the decades pass.
Yeah,
So-
prepare for very obnoxious people when it comes to those games like Kuon and Rule of Rose. If you, like he said, like he touched on, if you ask somebody like, do you have Rule of Rose?
Dude, fucking Drakengard is not even that hard to seek out. And I'm like, do you have Drakengard? They're like, bro, if you find it, well, you're not going to find it. I would have I would have found it. I didn't find it, so you're not gonna find it. I'm like, fuck. Okay, thanks, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, people are jerks, you know. But yeah, expect to pay a pretty hefty penny when it comes to those games.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I swear, if I find Rule of Rose again, I'll text you. I'll let you know.
yeah, because
I won't let the store close.
I do have games now to trade. That's what I was thinking about. I was like, maybe I could trade some games to get that now. It wasn't on my radar before, but now, like I said, it's a gateway. So I'm like, fuck, now I'm gonna pay attention for it.
It's your gateway game.
Yeah.
I need it.
And I started playing a little bit of Rule of Rose, just very little bit, just to see what it was all about. And I could already see right off the back why that game is so controversial.
Yeah, it was full out. It was full on banned in some countries, if I'm not even mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. I think that's what I've heard. But there's a lot of it's a lot. It has to do with children. Nothing in a very like when people think of that, it's nothing in a sexual sense. It's more of death.
Yeah,
more revolving around death and like how kids are involved with that, and
it goes to a dark place.
Yeah, it's a very dark place, and
pretty
like,
dark.
and kids are just fucking creepy. Like, and they're like,
bro, the
like,
fucking kid from Resident Evil 7, or Evelyn.
Oh,
before
yeah.
you know who and what she is, it scared the fuck out of me. Kids in survival horrors and horror movies and horror games are just fucking creepy.
Yeah. There is one game, and then this will close out the video game portion of the show, but
yes,
there is one game that I want to find. I don't know if it's too expensive nowadays, but it's I don't know if it's called Ju-on. It's basically The Grudge.
Yes.
So it's The Grudge, but it came out on the Wii.
Huh.
So the game was it's so creepy that it was a first person. It was almost like PT. So you would.
I'm looking this shit up right now.
Yeah,
Keep
look
going.
it up. So while he does that, I'll kind of explain what I seen in the videos. So like you're first person, and then you're walking around the house, and then you're I guess investigating, what's going on, and whenever you open certain doors, like she'll just pop out of nowhere and like freak you out.
Oh my god!
And I remember I was like, holy crap, and it kind of slipped my mind for the longest time, but now that I remember, I'm like, dude, I should probably see if I can. If that game's not expensive, I'm snatching it somehow.
So the reviews aren't stellar, but I'm looking at the photos and holy shit,
it's creepy, dude.
I'm gonna keep that in my mind tonight before I go to bed. That is creepy as shit.
Yeah. So
my god,
that will be another one on my list of games to buy. But yeah. So that is pretty much what we have to talk about. Games. So bring us into the world of comics and movies, because I know we have quite a bit to talk about.
Man, there's so much shit going on, comics wise. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Earlier, like I said, I was comic hunting. I'm always comic hunting, and always trying to look for a fair price, a decent price. And in particular, I was looking for Infamous Iron Man. For those of you who don't know, Infamous Iron Man is when basically Dr. Doom takes the mantle of Iron Man. The reason why that is significant is because recently Kevin Feige announced that the Russo brothers are coming back into the MCU to direct Avengers, what was supposed to be the Kang Dynasty. Now it's been turned into Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
Okay. And Avengers Secret Wars will remain titled as is, but obviously Kang will not play as much of a role or any role. And I think it was supposed to be penned by the people who, or the person who made Loki, but now they switched them out for the Russo brothers, who are responsible for Captain America Civil War, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Endgame, basically universally all the Marvel movies that everyone loves, right?
Yeah, basically very good.
So they're bringing him back. Cool. The other big announcement, Robert motherfucking Downey Jr. is going to play Doctor Doom.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on that.
Mind fucking explosion, people.
Yeah. So
what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I don't know. Okay, so at first I was like, "Oh my god!" They're going to use him in that way, right? I was super excited at first, right? But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, "Is that really the move that they're going to take to like revive the series?" They're gonna bring back a person that they gracefully killed off to have him as more of a memorial. I mean, I was already expecting him to come back sooner or later as Iron Man.
Yes.
Like even so, like Deadpool and Wolverine, like make one last appearance.
Yeah.
And then go away.
Yeah.
For good. But the fact that he's coming around as Doctor Doom, I can see it of two ways. I can see it as like, okay, well, there are all these multiverses that are going on. There could be an explanation between that. of why he is now on the bad side. And then on the other side, it's more of really like they're going to take a weak route of reviving. Yes, he's one of the, if not most popular actor in the Marvel series.
Yes.
Everybody loves him. I mean, he was awesome. He was like the perfect Iron Man.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of on the fence with it.
So it kind of begs the question, and I also have my thoughts too. It's more, I am skeptical, but I'm more on the positive side. I'm more of the let's wait and see, because Tony Stark, when Iron Man, I'm sorry, when Tony, what's his face, Robert Downey Jr. was initially casted as Iron Man, a lot of naysayers were like, well, he can't do it. You know, he's a druggie, he's a convict, he can't do it, and he did it, and he's surprised. Now, granted, things are kind of heightened because he's already played this amazing character, Tony Stark, Iron Man in the MCU. He had an amazing finale. I was happy if we never saw him again. But apparently we're going to see Robert Downey Jr. again. What's interesting, though, is that they made it clear he's not playing Tony Stark. He's playing Victor Von Doom.
Yes.
So what does that mean? Is Victor Von Doom a variant of Tony Stark? Or are they going to pull like a Tropic Thunder where he is actually playing a different character? Same actor, but different character.
That's kind of like how Johnny Storm turned out to be, right? So like Johnny Storm was
same actor, different character.
Yes, same actor.
Major spoilers.
Chris Evans. So, yeah. If you go back and watch the 2000s Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm was actually Chris Evans, and he did a really good job on that one. And then all of a sudden he became Captain America. And so
if you haven't seen the Fantastic Four movies, major spoilers. But anyway,
yeah.
But so yeah, there's precedent for it.
I don't know. We'll wait and see. Like you said, how it's going to turn out. I mean, I'm still going to watch it anyways. It's whatever.
Yes.
I love Robert Downey Jr. regardless as an actor. So I'm going to enjoy it either way. But as Doctor Doom, my imagination, the way I remember Doctor Doom is because I played a lot of the Marvel vs. Capcom games.
Yes.
That's how I see him. I've never read the comics. I don't know what he's all about truly, like his whole story. I know he's like the main villain in the Fantastic Four series.
Yes.
But I know he plays a very pivotal role because he's very smart. He manipulates a lot of everything that's going on in the universe.
Yes.
He's kind of like the Dr. Robotnik of the Marvel
He plays
universe.
The long game. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like a mastermind with plans within plans within plans.
Right. And so that's how he's like super smart. But the fact that they're bringing Fantastic Four is finally, because this is what Deadpool and Wolverine did. Like they finally opened up the gate to bring in mutants.
Yes.
Which now we could get into that.
Yes.
But if you were to ask me, I feel like what they should have done was kind of separated, like, close the era of the first Avengers.
Right.
Which was the original up until Thanos, right? The whole Thanos arc.
Right.
Close on the Thanos arc and then create a new arc, but with new characters, like new actors, new characters that have not been touched on. Like they still haven't even brought back Ghost Rider, which is one of my favorite characters as well. I've never mentioned this.
I love Ghost Rider. Yeah.
So if you ever get an impression, I love anti-heroes more than I do regular heroes.
I love anti-heroes too. Yeah.
It's all good. But they've never brought back Ghost Rider. I don't know how much of a pivotal role he plays. I don't think too much.
Not
even though
in the comics, not really. Like he's not like a cosmic level.
He's kind of like on the side, right? Because I know Punisher has a big role in certain areas, right? Like he helps the event.
Yeah, he's street level, and then Ghost Rider. He's kind of like Midnight Suns, where like he's very important when it comes to like the mystical and the satanic.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But when it comes to like cosmic and like universal and stuff, not so much.
Okay.
But he's cool. He's a bad motherfucker though.
Oh yeah, dude.
I love the comment. I love the Reddit forums. Who would win, Ghost Rider or Spawn? It's like, oh no. It really depends who's writing. That's what it comes down to. If you were to do the penance stare on Spawn, would Spawn succumm or would he be like?
And they're both hell spawns.
Right back at you, bitch.
They're basically both hell spawns.
That's the point. So who would win? It's scary.
They're like we equal out. They would merge into one and be like,
and they have a fixation for chains.
Yeah. Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Right.
I didn't realize that.
Right. Todd McFarlane, explain yourself. Anyway,
yeah, but sorry, so that was a segue on that.
But yeah, side characters,
yeah. So I think they should have done that to where they built a new arc, which they are doing, but they're still recycling a lot of the characters that were around before.
Yeah.
So what I would have appreciated is like they close on the first arc, create the second arc, and then they bring in both together. So like that way people can build new relationships with new people.
Right.
And then not just be like, oh, Robert Downey's coming back. I love Robert, you know?
Yeah.
And so it kind of takes away from new potential. So they were talking about Cillian Murphy playing
he would have been amazing.
Doctor Doom, or what was the other actor? It was Cillian Murphy and
is it Killian or is it Cillian?
it's probably Killian. Sorry, I'm butchering it.
It's all good.
I
know who you were talking
about. I think he said Killian.
Mr.
Right?
28 Days Later.
Yeah, dude, that dude is fucking great. I love him.
Oh my God.
Ever since Batman Begins, and I mean, I remember him from 28 Days Later, but from Batman Begins, when he played
that
Chris
was my
Scarecrow.
first movie with him. Yeah, Batman Begins. Yeah.
So it was him, and then there was one more person.
There was someone else. Yeah, let me look that up.
Yeah, but anyways, they were gonna have one of those actors that would. People were saying they should have put those actors instead of Robert Downey and save Robert Downey for.
And I think that's very
Iron
fair.
Man.
I think that's super fair. Yeah, that totally works. Have you seen Oppenheimer?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course. Yeah. You're a red-blooded American. Of course,
Well,
you've seen it.
I shouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'll see it if you ever see it. No. I mean, I didn't mean it in that way. I meant like, oh yeah, like it's so good that I
It's a fucking amazing. It's Christopher Nolan. He could turn shit into gold.
Yeah.
If you've seen Robert Downey Jr. there, he looks nothing like Tony Stark. He acts nothing like Tony Stark.
Oh, he did come out in that movie too, right? Yeah.
He's a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
he's a prick, but he's conniving, kind of cool in some scenes, witty, but also a prick. So like in my mind, it's if you look at Doctor Doom, his face is like scarred and like he's like missing like a nose. He's like he's literally a scarred being. I can see a world where literally it's Robert Downey Jr. playing a different character, has zero connection to Tony Stark. It's possible. But I think inevitably they're going to make him a variant of Tony Stark, which is going to piss me the fuck off. I'll like it because it's Robert Downey Jr. and, you know.
I mean, because Marvel is dying. Yeah. And I think DC is going to thrive.
Yeah.
So did you see the new release of the logo for DC?
Yes. Yeah. They're bringing it back to
it's a small subtle change, but I was so happy to see that old symbol again.
It's a huge, it means a lot.
Yeah. So James Gunn revealed that he was going to change the old the current DC logo, which is the D with the kind of page looking folding logo.
Yes.
To the original DC, which is like the insignia where it's like a circle with the DC in the middle turning
and the stars.
It's like diagonal and the stars in it.
And it's blue. Yeah.
Literally
just same symbol, studios in the bottom.
Yeah. So that tells me, okay, you're on the right start already. You're kind of taking it back. You know, hopefully it's not. I mean, I trust James Gunn. I love all his movies. Like he's good.
He's good. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what he does with Batman and Superman. And I mean, I don't know. I think is Aquaman going to stick around like Jason Momoa? And
I think they're going to retool him and make him Lobo.
Oh yeah.
He originally
that would be a good character.
When he originally apparently when he was doing the casting with Zack Snyder, he's like, "Can you consider me for Lobo?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll consider you. Like we're building this world." And then in the end, he's like, "You make a great Lobo, but I think you make an even better Aquaman. I want you to be Aquaman because it's kind of like an out of left field thing." But he also like
he made Aquaman cool.
He made him cool.
I thought he made him cool.
He's just the guy who talks to fish. No, look at this jabroni. Look at him. He's fucking badass.
Yeah.
But I think they're gonna turn him into Lobo, and that's why when they announced Peter Safran and James Gunn were gonna take over the universe, he's like, "Guys, I'm so happy. I'm still in.
Yeah,
I'm getting what I want." I think that's what he was implying. You know.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I know we could probably go a little bit deeper on the DC side, but
yeah,
aside from Apocalypse, I don't really know much more beyond the lore. I'm sure there's a lot.
There's a whole lot. I used to love DC. Used to be on top of Marvel, and it's on the comic side of thing. I kind of put DC ahead, but in terms of the movies, Marvel's still ahead until James shows me otherwise. And I see the potential. I see the potential. It could take over Marvel.
Yeah. So we'll see about that. But I mean, what other releases are coming out that you're? Well, I guess I should probably say the ones I'm excited about.
Go for it.
Hellboy.
Yeah.
So not I wouldn't say I'm not very savvy into the lore of Hellboy, but I mean, I fucking love the movies regardless. Like, I love the character. I love the type of personality he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because Ron Perlman did a pretty good job of persona. I mean, at least that was my version of Hellboy that I
Same.
knew.
I grew up with that.
Yeah. So they just announced it's coming out later this year, Hellboy, the Crooked Man.
Yes.
And the creator of the comic was his name Mike
Mignola or Mike Mignola?
Mignola, yeah.
Mignola, yeah.
So he's actually going to be guiding the writing for the movie.
Good
and
shit.
So it's looking like it's going to be more of a horror based.
Yes.
I don't know if Hellboy was truly like that from the beginning, but I think I knew he fought demons.
There was always somewhat of a horror element.
Yeah.
Which I think the Ron Perl movies, it didn't go too far into.
No, it was more just like action based. And,
Yeah, there's like Lovecraftian horror, and then there was like kind of like, ooh, disgusting, there's blood.
Yeah.
But not like horror.
Yeah.
When I saw the trailer for this new thing, I agree with you. It's like, holy shit, you're taking this to a new place, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with the trailer, like it looks promising. I mean, I'll watch it regardless. At first, I was kind of questioning the choice of character to play Hellboy, but I've since kind of grown to be like, oh, I don't care. I mean, they portrayed. So this is supposed to be the early years of Hellboy, I guess his first real bad case that he had to deal with.
Yeah.
And so that's why he probably looks a lot younger or different than what. More of the buff version that he was later on.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if he was really buff. I mean, because a lot of the comics, he was very kind of slender, but had a big arm.
I was going to say, maybe you could chalk it up to Mike Mignola, the creator. He also does the art for Hellboy. And he's also done some art for Batman and other comics. The way that he always drew Hellboy, he was kind of more on the thinner side and very lanky. And kind of,
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, so when you see Ron Perlman's character, as I did, and then I got interested, it's on a very cursory level on the comics. I'm like, okay, that doesn't look like Ron Perlman. Here, when you see this actor who's, God, I wish I knew his name. We could supplement it. When you see this actor, this new iteration of Hellboy, I'm like, yeah, a little thin, a little lanky. He's got the horns and he's got the red skin, but otherwise he looks down to earth. I like that.
Yeah.
And that really tends to build up the horror aspect. This is a guy who's vulnerable, I like that.
Yeah. So it looks interesting. And then even the horror elements that they're throwing in from the trailer, it looks promising. So
Fuck yeah.
that one I think is coming out. And is it this month or is it next month?
Is it going to come out straight to Netflix or Amazon or?
No, I think it was coming out.
Up.
I think it was coming out to the movies, but
Good. I thought they just put out the other one with David Harbour.
that was 2 years ago, I think.
Oh my God, they didn't waste any time at all.
No, that one was interesting. I like David Harbour as Hellboy. He played pretty good.
September the 27th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so next month. Cool.
In the UK, so US.
Oh, never mind. We're not getting it.
It could just be in the November release date in Mexico. Anyway, it's going to be this
damn
year.
it.
I'm pretty sure. Man.
Next year for the US.
We'll drive down to Matamoros. We'll watch it.
I know.
No.
But yeah, no, I mean, so aside from Hellboy, okay, so we have a big one. We both saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a disclaimer on there's going to probably be a lot of spoilers on this. So if you're looking to not be spoiled by the movie if you haven't seen it yet, I know it just came out. Try to skip. We'll try to keep this under 30 minutes, or there's a lot to unpack. It could be even under whatever. You figure out where you need to pass by this, but
just keep scrolling until it's clear
down.
that we're not talking about Deadpool or Wolverine or Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
we'll get the timestamps down one day, people.
But yeah, so again, this is a spoiler review of Deadpool and Wolverine. So what were your thoughts of the movie?
Fucking amazing. A lot of cameos. At some point I did think it was kind of like, okay, move along now. This is becoming a little bit a little bit too gratuitous. But otherwise it was fucking amazing. I'd rather have all the cameos than not have them. I think it's great that he is now in the MCU. It's the first official rated R MCU movie, which is only Ryan Reynolds could pull that shit off. Hugh Jackman, the Wolverine, he's made it. He survived the crossover into the MCU. And then you got another actor who was also briefly shown as Wolverine. I'm like, thank you. Like, if you're not going to use him in DC, use him there, which we could talk more about in a bit. Like with regards to the cameos, it was great to see. We could talk about spoilers, right?
Yeah, we're unpacking all the spoilers.
Fucking Blade, Wesley Snipes.
So there were a couple of moments in the movie where like it's been a long time since I've had like those oh my god what the fuck moments, and so the first one that really caught me off guard, which I was thinking about in the back of my head, was when Chris Evans came out.
Yeah,
and so when they showed his arm, they made it seem like he was Captain America, but then he busted out as Johnny Storm. I was like, oh my god,
flame on!
Yeah, I was like, this is fucking hilarious, dude. So
yeah, that was cool.
That was the first one, and then when they started revealing the other mutants,
yeah,
dude. Okay, so when Blade came out, I was like, fucking let's go.
Some motherfuckers are gonna ice skate uphill.
Yeah, I was like, that's fucking awesome. And, so of course he didn't have his sword. He had like a little machete, but he still had his fucking boomerang, dude.
He's still got the boomerang.
Oh, dude, that was awesome. And then so they showed him, and then they had obviously X-23, and then they had Elektra, dude.
Elektra. Jennifer Gardner, dude, she's back.
I was really fucking hoping for Ben Affleck to come out. I was like, dude, where's fucking Daredevil, dude?
Yeah,
but he apparently died.
No such luck. But did you catch the joke that it's like, oh, we're so sorry for your loss. It's okay. It's because they're divorced in real life. And she hates him. That's why she's like, who gives a fuck? Like, let's not talk about him.
That's funny.
So that was funny. And then what was so cool, I think the real almost highlight of the movie is the fact that Ryan Reynolds, with his star power, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, including bringing characters who were denied their spot, on the big screen. Channing Tatum's Gambit.
Dude, yeah.
He fucking made it happen.
He was hilarious. I love Channing Tatum as an actor just because when he's not trying to be funny, he's fucking funny, dude.
He's so fucking funny.
And when we're in the movie, like, he I was like, okay, is he gonna nail down the French accent, dude? Okay, let's see.
He got it, yeah.
Dude, yeah. Like and then the shit that he would say, dude. Like, so my wife was right next to me and she couldn't stop laughing on this one part. So there was a section when Deadpool was talking to him, and it was about when Johnny Storm died. So because Deadpool got Johnny Storm killed, by Xavier's sister, right?
Yeah, Cassandra Nova.
Yeah, because he was being like, well, he said, fucking put this thing on him. So he was explaining the story to Gambit, and then so Wolverine in the back was just laughing or kind of like chuckling because he's like, no, he didn't. Like, you killed him. Like,
you killed him, bub.
and then Gambit was all like, what did he say? He was like, "Oh, I never knew my daddy."
I never knew my daddy. I bought in the wasteland.
Yeah,
like Cajun, like very broken up English.
But like when he said that, he was like, "I came out of my daddy's ball sack, and I never knew my daddy," or something like that. My wife was just fucking laughing hardcore on there because it was just like a subtle fucking thing he said. Yeah, and like everything he would say, it was just like. You couldn't understand because of like the mumble,
the heavy
French.
Cajun accent.
Yeah, and so Deadpool's all like, "What the fuck did you just say?"
Yeah, who's your dialectal coach? A fucking minion, one of the minions.
That was awesome. Dude.
That was so cool.
I was trying so hard not to laugh too because I was like, "Oh my god, this is fucking too much, dude."
Yeah, no, it was just so cool. Ryan Reynolds, straight up, he just acts like himself.
Yeah,
but it works. I don't know how it works. It fucking works.
Yeah, but I think, dude, all the cameos, like this is a nostalgia fest.
It was a nostalgia fest.
So
call it what it is. Yeah.
So
for better or worse, that's what it was.
I fucking enjoyed the movie like so much. Dude, I want to go watch it again because there's a lot of things that I probably missed from like little hidden Easter eggs. Even though the story may not lead to, it doesn't give you a bone too much to go with. The only thing that I grasp from it is that, okay, well, now mutants are introduced, and further from that, like the way they leave the movie off, it's kind of like, okay, well, there's nothing much more. Like it's open to interpretation. Like, okay, so now this is like a thing, and this is how it can affect, and this is where the Fantastic Four is going to come in, the new X-Men, and just mutants, and because the Fantastic Four are mutants, right? Or no, they're
I hate being a fucking nerd. Mutates. They're mutates. Like they weren't born with their with the X gene, but they acquire their powers by accident. So mutates. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well,
I'll fuck off right now. I'll let Mike talk for a bit. I'm leaving. Bye, y'all.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that was my thoughts. If you think anything different, like on your interpretation of the story, then yeah, I
100% agree with you. It looks like it was kind of like a self-contained thing. It's like, okay, so now what? So it begs a lot of questions. What do we go from here? Oh, we're talking spoilers, right?
well, we were gotten too deep into it now,
Bro, why was Thor crying? Why investigate why Thor was crying?
So I saw this interview. So in Furiosa, because you know how the Mad Max Furiosa.
I still need to watch it.
No, well, I haven't seen it either, but Chris Hemsworth was in it.
Yes,
and
yes.
they just did an interview with Chris Hemsworth and Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yes, yes.
They were both. So the interviewer asked Chris Hemsworth, "Hey, so given Deadpool Wolverine just came out, did you know that you were in the movie?"
Yeah,
and
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about that specific scene where like you were holding Deadpool, and he was like, I think it's fascinating. Basically, he was trying to be nice about it, saying like how they were able to swap Loki, because Loki was supposed to be the one that was being held by Thor.
Yeah.
But instead they put Deadpool in there.
So it was footage from Dark World, basically.
Right.
Thor. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what they did. They just swapped the the fucking. It was more comical than it was. Than that, because maybe it was just like another timeline where Deadpool. Because now that they're explaining that Deadpool's in the universe, they probably reversed.
It could be as simple as that.
I don't know. Maybe it's something that means something different. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, because I think he had more of a full-grown beard in Dark World. Here, it looked very shaven. Dare I say, even a bit patchy.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is... I took it a bit more
Maybe,
literal.
yeah.
I took it like... If it was a joke, I think it would have... Paradox, Mr. Paradox, the first like the initial bad guy, but then he becomes like the kind of the buffoon of the movie. I think he would have explained it away like, oh, you simpleton, I wanted you to think that was your future just so you could become invested in our plans for you. I think if it was a joke, if it was a gag, it would have come out already. But the fact that it was never addressed, I think it means that this is a possible future for Deadpool. And it's kind of also like an olive branch to the fans, like, hey, he will actually interact with the Avengers in due time. I took it very literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that yeah. Maybe I got to go back and watch it again, because I think I remember him. He looking slightly different, but it's been a while since I've seen Dark World.
Yeah.
So whenever I saw that interview and he mentioned that it was from one of the movies, and I was like, was it? Now it's got me questioning it, so I got to watch it again.
Yeah.
But the other cameo that I was super excited about was Henry Cavill.
Fuck
Dude,
yeah.
whenever they fucking showed him, I was like, no fucking way, dude.
It was so cool. They're like, oh my God, I found the perfect Wolverine. I found you. And then it turns around and then you see literally Henry Cavill with a cigar. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And then
my God.
Yeah, dude. And I was like, dude, I'm all for that. I'm for he can be my next Wolverine.
Yeah. You heard what they said, the Cavalrine. It's you. All the fan casts. Yeah. They were right. You were perfect. My world's in danger. And he did the arm pump. I don't know. Have you seen Mission Impossible, the one with Henry Cavill, where he's a bad guy?
No, not that one.
You need to.
I don't think I've ever seen any of the Mission Impossibles.
Okay, just watch the one. Just watch the one scene where he does the arm pump.
Yeah.
Just for those, we don't have video up yet, but basically, I just showed him what the titular arm pump is. He does that, but with the claws. He does the arm pump. So,
yeah. But
it's like he did it. He did the thing.
Yeah, that was. I thought that was a really good fit, and I totally forgot that people were talking about Henry Cavill being the next, aside from Daniel Radcliffe. That was kind of a weird.
That was too left field. What
yeah,
the fuck,
that was an interesting one.
Yeah. Don't cast. Yeah. But they were right about John Krasinski. Rest in peace. In Multiverse of Madness.
They should have
kept them.
But he didn't want to play throughout the whole.
He didn't want to do it. Yeah.
No, he just wanted to do the cameo.
A one and done. Yeah. Pedro Pascal, I think he'll do a good job. But
the one thing I really hope that they don't do is burn out Pedro Pascal. Because I loved him from Game of Thrones. Ever since then,
he's in everything.
Yeah, he was even around before then, but he started. That's where he really got his fame, is there, and then now he's in everything.
Yeah.
But he's such a likable character, dude. He's so awesome.
He's a great
versatile.
character. English, Spanish. He's a very personable person. apparently he also fights like anxiety too. So I hope he doesn't get burnt out.
Yeah.
I that only just came out because like apparently in the middle of like the San Diego Comic-Con, he actually started like acting nervous. He kind of like huffing, and then he literally went to his co-star Jessica Kirby. What's her name? She plays Sue Storm. Vanessa Kirby. And he's literally like tugging at her arm, like, please let me hold your hand. I'm kind of panicking right here. So
that was okay. I saw a video. She was wearing a red dress, right?
I'm not too sure.
So I saw a video where this person was yanking on a girl's hand to like hold his hand. So that would have fucking been him.
So he's dating Dakota Johnson. At first I thought, oh shit, is he cheating? Like, is he just doing it? He's putting it out there, but people are like, no, it's because he fights anxiety, and he hides it really well. But for some reason now the cracks started coming out. So that I think that's very important to highlight. Like, you know, take care of your mental health.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't get burned out because he's the fucking Mandalorian. They're gonna make a Mandalorian, maybe. They're gonna make a movie. They're gonna make the Heir to the Empire.
Wait, they're making a movie?
They're making a Mandalorian movie.
Shit.
They're making the Heir to the Empire movie, which is supposed to like continue off of the Mandalorian. He'll be there, and then now he's like the new face of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Like, is your back okay, bro?
And
like,
he's coming out in Gladiator 2.
Fucking Gladiator 2.
Yeah. So now he's the bad guy, I think, in Gladiator 2. But
yeah, I think he's like the Emperor or some shit. Yeah,
dude. Like he's like everywhere now. He's like The Rock, dude. He's becoming like almost in all the big movies.
And he's such a good guy. He looks like a good guy. Like I genuinely hope he's okay.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen that movie with him and Nick Cage?
It's like the untold weight of unbearable greatness or something like that.
Yeah.
I've seen the memes. I've not seen the movie.
It's hilarious, dude. Like, but in that movie, you can tell like the character that he plays might match up with how he is in real life because he's real down to earth. And he carries himself very humbly in that movie. Yeah. So that kind of makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like I love him as an actor, but
yeah.
Why did we start talking about him?
Because I mentioned was it John Krasinski and John Krasinski, perfect castings, John Krasinski, and then Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah. Okay,
yeah, so let's
out the rabbit
take
hole.
it back.
Yeah, let's go back.
Let's go back. Hey, all the variants of Wolverine across all the universes.
Yeah. Okay. So shed some light on that. So the first. Yeah. So okay, you probably better explain it than me.
I can answer this.
So I'll let you take the wheel.
So in the movie, there's a point where, again, we're in heavy spoilers. There's a point where Deadpool realizes that his universe is going to die. Not by an incursion, but just because of like natural degradation. Apparently, every universe has like an anchor being, which is like someone who has such an amazing influence in that timeline that as soon as they die, really the timeline has no reason to exist further. The timeline will naturally degrade. In this case, this anchor being was Logan from the movie Logan. After he saves Laura and he finally dies, the timeline starts to degrade. And grant you, the events of Logan happen, I think, 5 or 6 years ahead of the timeline of Deadpool and Wolverine. But the fact that he's dead, it affects the universe anyway, right? So Deadpool has to replace that Logan with a new one. Otherwise, his universe and Vanessa, his girlfriend, well, ex-girlfriend, Colossus, Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, they will all cease to exist simply because there's no Wolverine. So he goes on a quest to find Wolverine, a replacement. The first one he stumbles upon is a short one. That is supposed to be a comic accurate Wolverine. Oh, because he's actually like 5'3" in the comics. He's like 5'3", 5'4". Oh
wow.
Yeah. So when originally they casted Hugh Jackman back in like 2000, 2001, más o menos, people didn't give a shit about his height. But as the years went on and people became more opinionated in comic book movies, thinking they can direct it, they're like, how about you accurately represent Wolverine by getting a short person to play him? It's like, okay, do you want an accurate portrayal or do you want a good one?
Yeah.
So here Ryan Reynolds is kind of saying like, here you go. Is this really what you want? No. So you got that. You got Wolverine from Age of Apocalypse, the one with like all the hair, and then he's missing an arm and he's just stabbing the fuck out of. It kind of looks like the post-apocalypse. There's like buildings, rubble, and fire.
Oh yeah.
So they got Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. You got the one where he's wearing a white suit and a patch. That's Patch Wolverine. fucking you got the first you got the fight between Wolverine and Hulk.
Oh,
with
dude.
that cover where he's got the blades up
Yeah.
and in the reflection you see the Hulk. You got that one.
Oh yeah. That one's gonna be.
That's fucking amazing.
That's gonna be fucking awesome.
You got the Old Man Hulk. Old Man Logan. That's from Old Man Logan, obviously. And then you got the quote unquote. Oh my God, you're perfect. You're perfect. You're the one I've been looking for. And it turns around, it's Henry Cavill. So you got the Cavalry.
Yeah. So the one, which was the one where he was hanging on X.
How could I forget? Yeah. So that one is from a comic cover. That's from the cover of a comic book where he's crucified on an X while it's raining and there's a bunch of skulls. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not too knowledgeable of that particular storyline. But that cover was going for like a couple $. Now it's worth like several hundred.
Shit,
that's
dude.
another one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all because Hugh Jackman for a couple seconds just got on a cross and then you got Deadpool like, you know what? You're going to different places. I'm going different places. Bye-bye. And then it's like, boom, that comic is now worth several hundred.
Oh, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can I forget that?
Yeah. So definitely. Okay. So that kind of brings to light a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, the movie was like really good. Some people are shitting on it right now, but honestly, like, fuck those people.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
People are expecting and that's the thing I fucking hate about people nowadays. People are so expecting like the next hottest thing. They want it to be like this new gem. I mean, already going into the movie, I was like, I told I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but like I was just waiting for the time that Hugh Jackman and Deadpool will come together in a movie. The next one I'm waiting for is Spider-Man and Deadpool. So, because I know those two, when they get together, like they're pretty hilarious.
Well, right beneath it, supposedly they're making a Hulk Wolverine movie, Hulk versus Wolverine.
Well,
so that scene that we saw, we're probably going to see that play out.
But if Hugh Jackman's going to come back, I don't know, because that last comment in the very end of the movie, it was kind of a subtle one, but at the very end, whenever all the battles are done and they're just sitting there talking to each other, and he's like, so am I going to see you around or something? And he's like, probably not. And so that tells me that either they're playing like, oh yeah, this was just his last goodbye, just for the fans,
right?
Or he's really going to come back. And I don't know. I mean, because Hugh Jackman has said that the regimen to becoming Wolverine is
he hates it.
It's intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, it's a traditional, bodybuilder diet. And, you're putting a lot of stress on your body, and he's a lot older now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, and I'd appreciate if this was his last movie.
Yeah.
And then bringing somebody else to take on the mantle.
I'm okay.
Bring back Cavill. I think that's what we need, man. We need new people new faces to kind of bring new relationships with the crowd.
I'm down.
Because keep it on, like, as much as I love, the perfect Xavier already exists, and that's Patrick Stewart. In my eyes, I love fucking Patrick Stewart. He's not
going to last that long, though. That's
no,
the sad part.
No. And surprisingly, Ian McKellen, whenever he played Magneto, I was a little skeptical at first because, like, my vision of Magneto was he wasn't as old. He had white hair, but he was more he had a stature to him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Ian McKellen just nailed it as Magneto.
What do you think of Fassbender? What if he came back?
Oh, dude, I love Fassbender too.
Bring him back.
Yeah.
Just
Fassbender
make him
was
the new
great.
Magneto.
Yeah, Fassbender as an actor too. He's one of my favorites.
He's great. He's amazing.
Fucking love him, especially as in the Alien movies when he played what was the robot's name? David, fucking David, dude, piece of shit. But he's an awesome actor.
He's a great piece of shit.
yeah. But yeah, he's great. But so we'll see. I mean, hopefully. Nah, I wouldn't say hopefully. I'm fine with Hugh Jackman not coming back, but Ryan Reynolds is sticking around, obviously.
Oh yeah.
He has a lot more tenure to put in.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so that was the Deadpool review. If I had to rate it, I'd say it's 10 out of 10 for me. I mean, I love just the movie. Just made me feel it was awesome. It was a fun time.
Yeah. I got you.
I'm not going to be as nitpicky as all these other people like, oh, it doesn't merge with the fucking story. I'm like, it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be a fucking nostalgia fest.
Yeah.
And, they did hint at little subtleties like how it would merge with the MCU, and they did. Like, they brought the mutants in. That was the whole thing. They brought the fucking mutants in. Right. So now that's the doorway to open up for the new movies to come kick in.
I got you.
It wasn't supposed to be like what and I like the end scene credits too because it was pretty.
Oh my god, that's the price of admission right there.
Yeah,
the NSYNC.
Because obviously he knows that people wait around for the ending just because of all these Easter eggs that might lead into the next movie.
Yeah,
and so he totally just goes south with it. And so the reason why, just to shed some light on, so I mentioned earlier that Johnny Storm got murdered by Xavier's sister because Deadpool instigated the whole situation. And so whenever he tried to explain like, no, I didn't kill him, people were like,
I'm just repeating what he said.
Yeah. So then at the very end, he changes the timeline to where he makes Johnny Storm say these things about Xavier's sister, and then so to make it seem like it was actually true. So
I thought he actually did it. It was like, guys, I wasn't lying. I didn't think he changed it.
No?
Yeah.
I thought he went back. Oh, I thought he went back and changed it.
I don't think he did. Or maybe. I mean,
Well,
they in fact, unless we see otherwise, it could be that. It could be.
Okay,
that.
yeah. So
but it's funny though. He made it true.
Yeah. So he was like, "See, I fucking didn't do it."
Yeah.
So that was hilarious.
That was pretty good.
But what do you give it?
Just in terms of like, oh man, I don't want to take up too much time. Just off the top of my head, I would give it like an 8 out of 10, like a 4 out of 5. In terms of like story, at some points it really seemed to drag. The fights were great. I loved all of them, but then like the Deadpool versus Deadpool core, and he's fighting all of them, him and Wolverine, and it looks all badass and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to my wife. I'm like, they can regenerate. What's the point of this?
I know.
It looks all badass, but they're just gonna get up. Not even like 10 seconds later, they all get up. Like, okay, really? You thought that was enough? And then next thing you know, you got Pete like, hey, wait, I'm here to help. And then they all just stop fighting. I'm like, okay, that's a hell of a cop out. So I have my critic mind, and that says like 4 out of 5. But the fan in me who wanted a good time, acknowledging that the Marvel universe has been going on a downward slope. Even fucking Deadpool admits it. Like, hey, congrats, Wolverine, you're here in the MCU. It's a bit of we're on a downward slope, but we're about to pick it up. Mm-hmm. This was a major win for Marvel. You deserve the $1 billion. Make more. I do hope Hugh Jackman comes back, or fucking bring back Cavill.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And I'm super excited, and I'm hopeful for. This is the most hopeful I've been for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So in that respect, I give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm of two minds there, but both of them are positive. This is a good movie.
Right
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, but you're listening to this,
definitely
watch this fucking movie.
Yeah. Hopefully you skip to the very end of this conversation. Now, yes, we recommend you watching this movie. Yeah. Definitely. So now going on to, we kind of covered a lot of ground in that comic section. So going into our personal endeavors, not much to talk about here. Not much has changed too much.
Just more personal.
Yeah, it's more personal. But what do you have to share?
So we divulged in the first episode that we're based in Corpus Christi, and this past weekend, Corpus Christi had a Comic-Con, its annual Comic-Con. And what's cool about that, this was personally my first one in Corpus Christi, first one ever. And it was great. And you had a lot of people from here in town, but also from around Texas who were selling their goods, cool collectibles, Funkos, comics, a lot of cool shit, video games. I'm surprised you weren't there, man.
We were kind of tied up with other things. It was kind of a bad weekend to kind of.
That's fair enough. That's super fair. The main reason why I wanted to go there was because, as in case it hasn't already been made super aware, I'm a fucking nerd. I love Star Wars, and Timothy Zahn, who is the creator of Thrawn, who is like my favorite Star Wars character, he was there. They had a panel, a Q&A, and I actually got to meet him. I shook his hand. I asked him several questions about Thrawn and about my second favorite Star Wars character, Mara Jade. The whole thing was about Thrawn, and then I'm like, hey, so Thrawn's my favorite character. He's like, thank you. And I'm like, my second favorite is Mara Jade. And then the whole crowd was like clapping, like, yeah, talk about her. Mara Jade is basically the wife of Luke Skywalker in the original timeline.
Oh.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. A lot of people
I
don't
don't-
know that shit. Disney, what did you take from us?
Yeah.
So I asked him, like, do you have any interest in putting her in the new timeline? And if so, how would you do it? And he said, like, there's actually a lot of room left when you think about it. And I don't want to take up too much time, but he's like, I am interested. There is room to put her in the new timeline. And I'm just waiting for the call from Lucasfilm to get to work on writing a story. And then in the end, he kind of opened the questions like, would you like for me to bring her back? I'm like, fuck yeah, bring her back. And then he's like, would anyone else like to see her come back? And everyone's like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. I had like my little 15 seconds of fame, and then obviously, like, I got to talk about Thrawn and Mara Jade, and then in the end, he's like, well, I'm selling books, and I'm doing autographs, and I just so happened, well, not just so happened, I planned in advance to bring all of my Funkos of Thrawn. One of them is super rare. It's already going for like $400 as is.
Oh, shit.
I wanted him to sign that shit. All right. So I went there, shook his hand, and I'm like, hey, again, thank you so much for answering my question. Can you sign my stuff? Yeah, sure. He thought I just had one Funko, and his wife was there. I pulled out my backpack, and I had 3 Thrawn Funkos. And the wife, he kind of looks at it like, yeah, you're a fucking fan. And she's like, oh boy, like you literally have every single Thrawn Funko ever. I did. And so he signed those like $10 a piece. And then he had a printing of his first ever Star Wars book, Heir to the Empire, which they're going to be adapting. He signed that, and he made it personalized for me, which is like, this is my hero. That means a lot to me. And I was able to get a photo with him. So that was just all around great. Definitely, I will be selling 2 of the Funkos signed by Timothy Zahn, but one of them I'm going to keep for myself. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
Probably the 1,000 one. I think that one I'm going to wait, or maybe just keep it for myself. But I will be selling that when I start up my Whatnot. And so it kind of goes into business ventures. So that happened. And then in other news, I have you ever seen Dawn of the Dead, like the original, like
In the mall, right?
in the mall?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the main characters. So you got like the 2 SWAT like officers. You got I forgot their names. You got a white dude, and then you got the African American dude. That African American dude's name is Peter. He quickly becomes the main character. It turns out he is the main character. That guy is played by an actor by the name Ken Foray. A fellow attorney friend of mine, he told me that he was his cousin, and he's like, he wants to make a comic book. I'm a fucking nerd, and he's like, hey, you should get a hold of Mr. Foray and look into the you know which one?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I remember
It's
that
the
guy.
main character of Dawn of the Dead. And he's like, you're a fucking nerd, right? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, look at this. He wants to release this new comic, which I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to release any info, but it's supposed to be like a spiritual successor of Dawn of the Dead. It can't be a sequel for legal purposes.
That was a George Romero movie,
yes,
right?
Yes. And Mr. Romero's dead, and I believe his agency
Or is he?
and they're very tight when it comes to their IP. So this will be a spiritual sequel, and he wanted my thoughts on it, but also he wants to crowdfund it using a Kickstarter, and he wanted my thoughts as a fan. And I literally wrote like in a text message to Mr. Foray a kind of a mini dissertation, like, this is how you do it. As a fan, this is how I invest in Kickstarters. And for someone who's into like zombie comics and anything zombie related media, this is how you do it.
That's cool.
And then in the end, the attorney cousin of his is like, this is cool shit. You mind if I put him on the phone? And he just calls him up. And like, yeah, who is this? And then the attorney is like, hey, I got this young man, the one I was telling you about. Talk to him. I got to talk to Ken Foray.
Dang.
Yeah,
That's
so I'm
cool.
like, that's so fucking cool. Like, so that's a bit of a highlight, and then after that exchange, the attorney he's like, you made his day, thank you. And then later that night at around 12 in the morning, he's like, hey, he's actually very impressed with your little mini dissertation. He may ask you to become involved in the process. So without getting into any details of the comic, because who knows what may be, whether or not I get involved, I don't care. It's just been my pleasure to be helpful. So I walked away with it very pleasantly. But who knows, if I become involved, that would be cool.
You hear, guys?
Yeah.
Morningstar is gonna be he's gonna be a star.
Yeah, baby.
That would be awesome, dude. Like if that actually pursues and
that'd be. I'm keeping my expectations very tempered. But like I said, it was a pleasure to meet a famous guy with a very influential movie, and he was very nice and respectful. So I'm happy. It was its own reward. But if he wants me to become more involved, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
I might say
you never
yes.
know, man. I mean, you network around, and you never something might happen.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to touch on too. Since this is let's just call it the personal development part as well as the business ventures, because that's one thing that I wanted to bring to these shows as well, is like bring, positivity in terms of, people bettering themselves in certain ways. Cause we know that there's a lot of people that don't like to, they're afraid to speak up or to do certain things. And so I myself, I used to be this way until I started kind of like getting on the right path and then learning things for my own. So what you're saying is, the big part of networking is a very key part in today's world. To where most of society, a lot of the newer generation coming in, they have like this immediate entitlement to everything. And also, it's instant gratification. Like there's this whole concept of instant gratification whenever things are done, when that's not reality, right? So delayed gratification is a lot more beneficial than it is with instant gratification. So when you network around, this is where that kind of comes into play, is like you be genuine when you talk to people, and make connections as well as you can, because that's how you get places in the world, is you make connections with people, and then things will come your way, as long as you are genuine in the things that you're doing, and you have things to bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for those people who are out there wondering, like, it could be from this is like a universal kind of life lesson. So if you're starting a business, or if you're, trying to land your dream job, or you're trying to achieve something, like something of your wildest dreams that you've always wanted to be or do, you just kind of keep being genuine in what you do, and then time will eventually catch up with you. It's like karma, right? It's like,
yes.
I really believe in karma like a lot, and so
I certainly believe.
So bring positivity to everything. Stay true to yourself and genuine, and just don't expect everything to happen quickly and fast. But behind this whole concept of networking, that is a true key piece that a lot of people don't have, because people are afraid to talk to people. And a lot of questions, this online reality that we live in, like Facebook and social media, you don't get to see the people on the other side of the screen, which is a detriment to our psyche, because we behave differently when we're in front of people. You got a bunch of keyboard warriors out there that are willing to talk trash about everything,
or even the difference between text and phone call. It's completely different.
Because you can tell emotion from calling, and then
context, and then actually hearing that there's another human being on the other side.
Exactly.
It really helps. When I texted Ken, and he was just like, "Oh, thank you, bye." I'm like, "You asshole! I just gave you this mini dissertation. You don't even bother to say thanks." But when I called him, when he called me, it's like, and when I hear the gratitude, I'm like, holy shit, you actually you took what I said. It looks like you took it to heart, and you're giving it to your team to fix the problems that I saw at the time. That automatically it changed my perception. It's like, that's awesome. Thank you for the call. But imagine if it's like face to face.
Oh yeah, definitely
you want to network, and you want to prioritize minimizing the boundaries between you. If you can do it by call, or you could do it in person, do it. It's going to go much better. So delayed gratification, if you take the time to let it sit and stew,
so that it can build up and have you can reap the benefits from that.
Fuck yeah.
And also when it comes to momentum, this also ties in as well, because people who are on their path of where they're trying to get to, it takes momentum, because like myself, for example, I see myself as like a freight train. So like whenever you start up, you're slow, right? Like a train starts off pretty slow, and then once you actually get moving, like you're pretty set.
Yeah.
And then when you have a stop, and then you try to start again, it's going to be a slower start.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of way I visualize my thoughts on things. So
That's momentum, right? That's
yeah. So like when you're doing something like, say, like my business, like Pixel's Game Vault, it's a little rough at start, and you're gonna make a shit ton of mistakes, a fuckload of mistakes, and those are the times that you take the best advantage of, because you fix those little minor tweaks or those minor issues, and then you tweak them out to be more beneficial in the next time you do that particular thing. So when I first started with my store, I did things a certain way which were not helping my store at all. Like I didn't get that much attention. Yeah. And then when I started fixing those little key portions, I started finding that this momentum was building up, like, being consistent every week. And then as soon as I was being consistent every week, I started getting more traction coming in, and then like sales were kind of going through, and it was a very consistent sale marker that I was hitting. And so I started noticing these things, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I've already done this with my school and my job. Like, I mean, I've never really talked about my personal life in terms of my job, but I am a cybersecurity by day, a cybersecurity engineer by day, and then obviously
podcaster by night.
Yeah.
Where
so
are the other jokes going?
Yeah.
Kidding.
But yeah, so even with that, like with my education, like the momentum just built and built and built, and I finally got to the place where I was wanting to, because I had that drive, and it just kept on hitting it, right? So for those people out there, that you still have time to do things that you're trying to do. It's never too late. Don't believe all the bullshit that they tell you out there, like saying, "Oh no, you only have until this to get things done." It's fucking all bullshit. People try to just stray you away from doing better for yourself.
Yeah, the best time to get started was yesterday. So
yeah, exactly.
What are you doing right now?
Yeah. So if you're ever debating, just like I was with this podcast in the very beginning, I'm like, well, how are we going to start? And it's like, no, just fucking start. Just it can be like, you go back to our first episode, it's pretty rough.
Literally the very beginning, we were just testing out the mics.
I mean,
how you doing, yo dog?
Yo dog.
Hey daddy, or what is it? Was it
chill.
Daddy chill? That was a test run.
Black mic,
but a black mic. Okay, just yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean,
but we were having so much fun. We're like, you know what? We have the momentum. Let's just go.
Yeah,
let's go.
yeah.
We're shooting the fucking episode. Fuck it. We're doing it live.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people might say, well, you're just only on your 4th episode. And it's like, well, fuck. I mean, we've done a lot since our 4th episode. And me personally, like I told you, we've gotten a lot of comments about, y'all been bettering y'all's content. And I'm actually getting more engaged now. And it's like, see, like now we're bringing that to the table. And that's what I was like hoping to do. And all because we just said, fuck it, let's just start and just keep going.
Yeah.
And that principle applies to everything and anything that you're going to do.
Yeah.
So,
and we got objective markers. We got additional followers on Spotify. That doesn't include the Apple and Alexa, the consistent followers we're getting, and then the feedback we're getting. We're getting feedback from people who aren't necessarily gamers or comic gurus, and that's a cool thing. Per se. We have people who are here to listen to this stuff, who are becoming interested in this stuff. Like I believe your wife is becoming interested in Shattered Memories. Like, holy shit, I didn't think that was possible.
That kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah,
I was like
that's
wow,
cool. That's actually a major compliment. And then you got people who are here to listen to two people talk about what they love the most.
Yeah.
So if we can do it, so can you.
Yeah, and we're having fun with it. I mean, shoot, it's not like a chore that we feel like we have to do. It's just because we're just sitting here as two friends talking about stuff that we've come across and things on each side of the fence. So
yeah, I guess my parting words on this is it's like you want to continue growing, keep on growing in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
okay? Even if it means developing a hobby or a certain technique or a certain thing that you like, continue growing, because I subscribe to the belief that luck I don't know who said it, but they're absolutely correct. It's a mix of, it's when preparation meets opportunity. Okay, you're waiting for the opportunity. Opportunity means networking. Opportunity means, clicking, looking around. Opportunity means shaking hands. Sometimes you will hit a wall, and that's fine. Sometimes you've exhausted all your options for now. Keep growing.
Yeah.
Keep growing. Keep on developing yourself, and keep doing that. And when the right door opens, or when the right hand is extended to shake your hand, you will be ready. That's luck. When that door opens, you run through that fucking thing. Run a train through that fucking thing. Because you're gonna be ready. You know yourself, and you know your craft, and so run through it. Get started.
Yeah, just get started, and you got what it takes. Just fucking do it. That's all we gotta say.
Just do it.
And just keep that momentum going. And also, networking is a big key. If you're trying to get where you're trying to get, just don't be afraid to talk to people. People are not as dangerous as you think that they are. Most, at least, unless you're in the ghetto, then that's a different story. Don't talk to those guys in the corner.
In which case, what the fuck?
Don't give them
doing
change. You got change? No, fuck it away. But yeah. So on that note, this will be the end of the show. I know this was a pretty lengthy one.
Fuck, that got deep.
Yeah, that got super deep.
Yeah.
But no,
it's good.
It's
all good.
I think there was some good content, man, and we appreciate y'all listening again, and look forward to y'all's feedback.
Yeah.
And we'll be refining some of the things on Spotify to allow like comments, because I thought I enabled the comments.
I thought so too, and like Q&As and stuff. Like, hey, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah.
We want to hear from you, and we're hearing like we're hearing the. We're seeing the feedback, and we're seeing the consistent increase in followers, but we want to know what you think.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it's cool to hear from like people in person, but like we know that we don't get to meet everybody. So like if you're listening and you want to leave a comment, hopefully that will be available. I'm gonna see what's up with Spotify and be like, what the fuck's going on with this?
Now we're setting up, and and we're having fun. That's the key thing.
So again, we thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next time.
Bye bye.